Which brings me to the parties and the individuals who do not deserve your vote this election. Suffice to say, the Greens are so ideologically divorced from normal Australians, they deserve negative votes, if that was at all possible. And the teal independents, the climate-obsessed fake independents, financed by renewable investor Simon Holmes, well, they need to be avoided at all cost. If they cannot tell you what their preference will be in the case of a hung parliament, they don't deserve anyone's vote. They profess this integrity, this transparency, as they've done since the beginning of the campaign, but they have no idea how that transparency applies to themselves. But the other characters to avoid are those who've moved from their luxurious locations to pretend to be local representatives of working class and highly populated migrant electorates. And you probably know who and where I mean. Labor dropped former Kevin Rudd advisor and Vaucluse resident Andrew Charlton into Parramatta. He must miss his $16 million mansion in Vaucluse. I reckon he would, especially now that we've been told he's had to buy a cheap $2 million family red brick home in Parramatta. What poor diddums. And just on Charlton, overnight we've discovered that Charlton has breached electoral laws by nominating his wife's Wallara rental property as his place of residence. Charlton claims that it was an oversight. Maybe he and his wife have so many multi-million-dollar properties they just get it terribly confused. Hardly the kind of problem faced by most of those who live in Parramatta. But more than that, it may well turn out that if Charlton wins Parramatta, there'll be a very successful challenge. You can't do what he's done, and we have a by-election. And what if we need to wait for the result of that by-election in Parramatta to determine who wins government overall? Gee, thanks, Andrew. A pretty pivotal oversight, that one. And then there's KK, Christina Keneally, who keeps getting promoted within Labor ranks despite achieving very little, and despite living in glorious Scotland Island at Pittwater in Sydney's north. Well, she's been parachuted into the seat of Fowler, as you probably know, the Asian capital of Cabramatta in Sydney's southwest. Could Labor come up with two more diametrically opposed candidates if they tried? Like, seriously. Keneally goes from glistening Pittwater to Cabramatta, 30 kilometres away, and as far away as you could get culturally and socially. And Christina doesn't trust herself, doesn't trust the Labor faithful in Fowler either. She won't be buying any red brick cottage, not yet, not until after Saturday, when she knows whether she's won or not. Well, with a 14.6% margin in favour of Labor in Fowler, not even Christina Keneally could lose this, or could she? As for Charlton, as a Parramatta-born boy myself, it stinks. Not only should you not send me an out-of-towner, but don't dare send me one from the rarefied air of Vaucluse if I'm a Parramatta boy. What is Labor thinking? Now, the Liberal Party has partly parachuted in Dr Michael Fennelly, who's a Randwick doctor in Sydney and is running for Dobell on the central coast of New South Wales. I say partly because he moved to the Central Coast last year, but they've tried the same stuff before. Last election, they put Warren Mundine into the electorate of Gilmore. That was a failure. He lived nowhere near the seat. Local MPs, whether they be state or federally elected, surely need to have their roots in that local area. They need to know the historic demands and needs of local health, of social and public services. You can't parachute in career-aspiring politicians without copping backlash at the polling booth. The electorate has developed into a smart-thinking voting group. They know when they're being lied to or disrespected. It's disrespectful to local voters, and in the case of Fowler, drastically disrespectful to the vast majority of Vietnamese there who hope to have their first representative in our federal parliament. Vote for whoever does it for you. It's your choice. But the Greens, the Teals and the parachuted deserve nothing.